When we think of genetics, we often imagine the intricate dance of DNA, chromosomes, and inheritance. But it took decades of groundbreaking discoveries to reveal the molecular basis of heredity. Gregor Mendel, with his pea plant experiments, laid the foundation for how traits are passed from one generation to the next. In this video, we'll explore the pivotal discoveries that connected chromosomes to inheritance and uncovered the molecule responsible for carrying genetic information. Let's start with Gregor Mendel, often called the father of genetics. In the mid-1800s, Mendel conducted experiments on pea plants and observed that traits like flower color and seed shape were inherited in predictable patterns. His principles of segregation and independent assortment explained how traits separated during reproduction and were passed to offspring. While Mendel's work was crucial, he couldn't observe what happened at the cellular level. It wasn't until the late 19th century that scientists studying mitosis and meiosis discovered thread-like structures within cells during division. These structures, named chromosomes, were key players in inheritance. As scientists studied cell division, they noticed chromosomes behaved in ways consistent with Mendel's laws. This led to the chromosome theory of inheritance, which proposed that genes were located on chromosomes. But chromosomes contained both DNA and proteins, and it wasn't yet clear which molecule carried genetic information. Thomas Hunt Morgan, linking traits to chromosomes. Enter Thomas Hunt Morgan, a scientist who advanced the chromosome theory of inheritance by providing concrete evidence that specific traits were linked to specific chromosomes. In the early 20th century, Morgan conducted experiments with fruit flies and discovered that eye color was linked to the X chromosome. This was the first time a specific trait was definitively tied to a specific chromosome, lending strong support to the theory. DNA versus proteins. The great debate. Even with Morgan's discovery, the question still remained. What part of the chromosome carries genetic information? Chromosomes are composed of both DNA and proteins, and for a long time, scientists believed that proteins were the genetic material because of their complexity. DNA, with its relatively simple structure, seemed like an unlikely candidate. The debate over whether DNA or proteins carried genetic information continued for decades. In 1928, Frederick Griffith conducted an experiment that provided the first clue. He worked with two strains of Streptococcus pneumonia bacteria, one lethal, S strain, and one harmless, R strain. When he injected mice with a mixture of heat-killed S strain and live R strain bacteria, the mice still died. This suggested that some transforming principle from the dead S strain was transferred to the R strain, making it lethal. The Avery-McLeod-McCarty experiment, DNA identified. It wasn't until 1944 that scientists finally identified the transforming principle as DNA. Oswald Avery, Colin McLeod, and Macklin McCarty conducted experiments to show that DNA, and not protein, was responsible for transforming the harmless R strain into a lethal form. This was a major breakthrough, providing strong evidence that DNA was indeed the molecule responsible for heredity. The final nail in the coffin for the protein theory of heredity came in 1952 with the famous Hershey-Chase experiment. Alfred Hershey and Martha Chase used bacteriophages, viruses that infect bacteria, to determine whether it was DNA or protein that entered the bacteria and carried the genetic information. They labeled the DNA of the bacteriophages with radioactive phosphorus and the proteins with radioactive sulfur. After the bacteriophages infected the bacteria, they found that only the radioactive DNA entered the bacterial cells, providing definitive proof that DNA is the genetic material. Conclusion: the road to DNA. The discovery that DNA is the molecule responsible for heredity was one of the most important breakthroughs in biology, setting the stage for the development of molecular genetics. From Mendel's peas to Morgan's fruit flies and the definitive Hershey-Chase experiment, the journey to uncover the molecule of life took decades of experimentation and discovery. Understanding the role of DNA in inheritance has transformed science, providing the foundation for everything from genetic research to modern medicine. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more fascinating content. Stay tuned to King of the Curve for more exciting explorations of the science behind life.